Hi everybody, it's Honest John again, and it's time for another sports talk video. I love sports, and one of the most fun things about sports is the arguments, especially the arguments about who was the greatest player ever. In baseball, was it Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Hank Aaron, or a bunch of players? What about pitchers? Pitchers don't play every day, but so you have to divide it up and you have to argue about who was the greatest pitcher ever. Was it Cy Young, or Sandy Koufax, Lefty Grove? Who knows? That's an argument that could go on forever. As far as everyday players go, well, Bobby Bonds, if it hadn't been for the steroid thing, he'd be up there in the argument. He does hold the home run record, but I doubt if he'd have that without the steroids. But even without the home run record, he was a great player before the steroids thing happened, but you still have to eliminate it. So there's Hank Aaron, who had the home run record before him. But Hank Aaron got that home run record in a lot of ways. He was a great hitter, great home run hitter, and excellent all-around player. But he kind of got that record through longevity. He played for a long time. Ty Cobb. What about Ty Cobb? Not a home run hitter, singles hitter, but dominated the National League at his time. And all the things that made him a miserable human being, he channeled into baseball and made himself a great player. But I really don't think he gets the nod. Babe Ruth. Now, think about this. Babe Ruth hit his home runs in what was called the dead ball era. Nobody was hitting home runs like Ruth was. That came later on when they juiced up the ball, as they call it. When Babe Ruth started out, he was hitting more home runs than entire teams, more home runs than entire leagues. Right? So you think about, there was a couple of seasons when Babe Ruth by himself hit over 50% of the home runs hit in professional baseball. Now that has not happened in any era since. And then of course there's one guy that's really not mentioned very much in the debate, and that's Ted Williams. The last 400 hitter, 525 home runs. But think about this. He took 4 years off to fight in World War II and 2 years off to fight in Korea, all in the prime of his career. If it hadn't have been for those wars, Hank Aaron and Bobby Bonds and all those people would have been chasing Ted Williams' record. And he might have even had a couple of more over 400 seasons. So that's a heavy argument. In football, it's hard to do because you have so many different positions, and the focus is usually on quarterbacks and running backs and all that. But it's such a team game that they can't do it without the other guys. They have to have great players around them. It's possible that the greatest football player ever was a right guard or a tackle that nobody even knows who he is. In hockey, arguments can be made for Jean Beliveau, Maurice Richard, Bobby Orr, Gordie Howe, Bobby Hull. But I think most people would go with the great one, Wayne Gretzky. But still, there's a lot of people in that argument. And then there's my favorite sport, basketball. Now, you can argue that Bill Russell was the greatest player of all time. He dominated the game, but he wasn't much of a scorer. But still, all those championships that he had, of course he had a lot of great players around him. But the most dominant defensive player ever. Then on the other hand, you have Wilt Chamberlain, who dominated both on offense and defense, but couldn't get past Bill Russell. Then you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the all-time great scorers. Now, I think most people would go with Michael Jordan. Great player. Quickness, an amazing first step, and clutch. And of course now LeBron James is coming into the conversation. There has never been a physical specimen like LeBron. He is incredible, and that helps him to dominate. I mean, he is definitely a dominant player. And we've watched him just improve every year. He gets better. On both offense and defense. So we're going to have to wait until the end of his career. But I have a feeling when all is said and done, there'll be a heck of an argument to be made for LeBron James. Well, this has been fun for me. I love talking sports. Thanks for listening.